division of multicultural affairs. It's called the Strengthening Capacity Building Grant. I always start everything that I do off with this. Let me go to my, let's go to my slideshow. And from the beginning, sorry, let me do it this way so you can see it better. Sorry. Okay, let's go to the next. Okay. So grant writing overview, success requires nonprofit knowledge, preparation, and organizational skills. It's kind of my mantra. So today we're going to talk about the grant's purpose, the focus areas, eligibility, process and timelines, the budget, the questions and the rubric. And then we're going to talk about what the Nonprofit Connection can do to support you and just have some Q&As. And so if you click on this link here, and this will get sent out to everybody if you don't have it already, but this link will take you straight to the Strengthening Capacity Building Grant. So let me just bring this back here. So we have that link in there for you so to make sure that you know exactly where to go. Okay, so the purpose of this grant is to bolster the effectiveness of Utah-based nonprofit organizations by investing in their internal processes and procedures and building capacity within our nonprofits. And in this new, oh, sorry, I should take that out. It should be in this new economy, is important in strengthening the organizational health, which in turn supports the services delivered to the broader community. The funding is actively dedicated to aiding the nonprofit organizations in crafting an efficient and enduring strategy. So I just want to go back previous. I don't have the nonprofit. So nonprofits here is empowering nonprofits to achieve their mission. So that's why it's such a good fit to the Nonprofit Connection, because the mission of the United Way's Nonprofit Connection fits exactly into this grant's purpose. And so that's why we were so excited about this grant, because we've been talking this talk since before COVID, that we need to start investing in the infrastructure of our nonprofits so that they have the ability to succeed and be sustainable, not just giving them money for their programming, but letting them invest in the actual infrastructure. So this grant has 4 focus areas for you to choose from. So what does all that stuff mean about investing, creating strategies? You can choose one of these 4 focuses. You have to. The first one is human resource management, which is creating strategies for a dynamic and welcoming work environment through recruitment, retention, and professional development opportunities for staff and board members. So then they give you some examples of what that can be: undergoing staff and board training, issuing surveys to collect data on employee satisfaction, hire a consultant to review your hiring practices and identifying pay gaps, and developing an effective onboarding process. It's not limited to those. If you can come up with another idea that would fit within this parameter of human resource management, then you can pitch that idea as well. And that's the same thing for every one of these categories. The second one is marketing and communication. And that's investing in tools and resources to responsibly distribute information and to implement accessible communication strategies. So they give you a couple of ideas for that: translating frequently used documents, gathering data, purchasing social media and management softwares. I would really hesitate on, oops, let me go back. I would really hesitate on any kind of purchase with this grant that would require ongoing funding unless you have a plan, because this is just a 7-month grant, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And then strategic planning. So developing a multi-year priorities, measurable goals with key stakeholders to guide and advance the work of your organization. So you can hire a consulting firm to help organize your organizational goals, redeveloping your mission statements, implementing new solutions, and creating a fundraising structure and plan. And really, if you look at the work that we're doing in the Nonprofit Connection, I'm just going to say it's really on the strategic planning piece and the human resource management. The other part, the last one in here, is technology improvements. So upgrading technology devices or software to adapt to current needs and to create workflow efficiency. I know when I was with an organization, when I first walked in the door, we had written a grant and got a grant to purchase 30 computers to create a computer lab back in the day when they had computer labs, right? A long time ago. But what happened is we didn't have a vendor. We didn't have anything. And I only had a credit card that had I think it was like a $3,000 limit on it. And so literally the organization would buy X number of computers that would be the 3,000. then they'd have to go through the bank, they'd have to pay it off, then we'd have to go back and buy another. So it literally took us, I can't even remember how long to actually order 30 computers, and then to set them up, to get them all networked. We didn't have anybody to do that. So if that's something that appeals to you, if you want to have even an expert come in and figure out your systems and those kinds of things and how you can be more efficient, that's what you can pay for with this grant. Well, we'll talk about any questions about those things, but when we're kind of done. But yeah, that's the 4 focus areas. You have to choose one. Okay, so to be eligible, you have to be a 501c3 in the state of Utah. The annual budget, 125 to 500,000. You can only submit one application on the grants portal. The following organizations are ineligible to apply. So if it is a fiscal sponsorship, you cannot apply. If you are a current grant recipient, you cannot apply. And I'm not quite sure if there's no current grant recipients of this grant. So I'm not quite sure if it's of the Division of Multicultural Affairs or if it's just this grant specifically. And then former grant recipients with overdue reports. So if you have a grant from the Utah Division of Multicultural Affairs and you have not turned in your report, then you cannot apply. Here's the timeline.
Hey, there's a question from Teresa.
Uh-huh.
In the chat, it says our nonprofit only gathered $15,000 last year. Is that what was referred to as budget? So does that mean we would not qualify?
If when you set your annual budget, so your income and your expenses, it has to be a minimum of $150,000. And they are going to ask you to prove that later on. So if you don't have a document that said you had 150,000, and like I said, the 150,000, if you include your in kind with that, sometimes that'll bump organizations up because it's run completely by volunteers, or you receive your rent in kind, or you receive donations in kind for food if you're providing your clients food, all that kind of stuff. You have to have a dollar amount value to that, and then that can bring you up to the threshold of 125,000. So application deadline is March 8th at 5 p.m. They're going to review it in April or May. The award notification comes in June. They're going to issue contracts in June and July, and then you should get your payment by July of 2024. The final report deadline is February 28th, 2025. So this is what's interesting, is that this is a 7-month grant program. So you don't get it a full year, you only get 7 months to do it. So you have to be ready. If you get your contract in June, you have to be ready to execute, I would say starting in July because of the quick turnaround time. Latest, starting in August. You can ask for up to $15,000. So it's not a huge grant, but we can show you later on what you could get for $15,000. And as far as your capacity building. You have to have ready to upload onto this portal your 501c3 determination letter, a current Form W-9, so it should be dated 2024, your Form 990, your Form 990EZ, or an audited financial statement. So you have to upload one of those. And then the last thing is a project budget, and you have to use their template, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So those are all the required documents. Okay, here's the budget template. I thought I'd start with that. And the budget template is this link. And it gives you a sample budget right here. So you can see you have the organization, the amount requested, and then you put it under contractual professional services, things like consulting companies, then the amount, and then the description. Technology, marketing and outreach, travel, supplies, and other. And what I want to be really, really specific about with this is that your budget has to match your grant. So if you write for a strategic planning grant, and then you write for 5 computers, you're not going to get scored high because your budget doesn't match what you're saying you're doing. So if you are writing a technology grant, then you could put some computers in there. But again, this is all about strategic planning. This is not a programming grant. So don't even think about programming. You can't buy computers for your programming, nothing like that. So you have to make sure that whatever you're doing fits in with that. So you can see with this one, it looks like they're buying, they have the Salt Lake City Consulting Company, which includes consultation for implementing social media campaigns in rural counties. They have the Cloud Conference, which is the $1,000 for conference registration fees for social media strategies. See how they're all fitting together? Then they bought laptops, but they're for the marketing team. They bought cloud-based storage just for that 7-month period. They bought some social media ads. They bought fuel so they could go to those rural areas and have stakeholder meetings. They did have food in there, but that's specifically for your stakeholder meetings in rural counties. Pens so that they could take the surveys. And then they did printed surveys. That was their goal. So their total at the bottom was $9,500. But you can see how thematically every single expense on here is going to fit with what their grant request is. And then you have, this is the blank budget. So this is going to be what you submit. When you submit it though, and you fill it in, you're going to want to come here, you're going to want to go download. And you're going to want to download this as a PDF. You cannot submit the Excel spreadsheet. You want to download as a PDF just your budget. Just your budget. Because they don't want, it's going to show a little bit more due diligence if you do it that way than if you do it any other way. If you just throw the whole Excel spreadsheet down there, that kind of looks sloppy. So that's the budget template. Super simple. No overhead costs are allowed in this. No staff costs, nothing like that. Okay. Oops, next. Okay. So here is the grant application questions. And so I'm going to show you each question, how much it's weighted, and then we're going to go over how it's graded. So you must describe the organization's need for increased capacity in one of the following focus areas: human resource management, marketing and communications, strategic planning, technology improvements. The proposal should include challenges in obtaining past opportunities and resources and the level of urgency in addressing the current need. So here's the question. Why does your organization need to do the proposed project? What challenges or constraints has your organization experienced that lead to you believing you need to build capacity for your selected focus area? So Susie Witt was on the call earlier. Susie could talk about her need is that they're merging with another organization. And so they need to have a really amazing, strong strategic plan in order to successfully complete the merge, and that plan needs to require a resource development outline, something like that. You could also say that, you know, your organization has increased its capacity due to COVID. We reach more people. You can say we've never had a strategic plan in the past, and we want to be prepared in case there's another COVID. So there's a lot of different reasons you can give, but here's what it says. Applications must describe the organizational need for increased capacity in one of the following areas. So you only choose one. Well, I guess you can, I don't know if you can choose one or two, but I would choose one. The proposal should increase the reasons as to why the capacity building has not been previously addressed, the barriers and challenges in obtaining past opportunities and resources. And really, if you look at the barriers, it's going to be, there's never, I mean, have you ever seen a grant that's going to help you with your capacity building? I've never seen that before. All the grants that we applied for, most of them are for programming. A lot of them are for something new in programming, and you can get some capital campaign money. Sometimes you can get operational, but as far as this type of strategic planning, this is one of the first of its kind. And then it tells you excellent is up to 10 points and inadequate is down to 2. So you have to be able to answer each one of those bullet points. If I were writing your grant, I literally would change this. I would have each one of these bullet points would be its own paragraph. And I would say the first one, I would even write the word need, NEED, and then I put colon, and then I would respond to it. And then I would put why it hasn't been addressed, colon, and then respond. Barriers, respond. And then the last one would be demonstrate urgency for the project to occur soon. Then I would say urgency. And then I would put a colon, and I would definitely, that's how I would do it to make it super clear that you are addressing each one of those bullets. Make it as easy as possible for the people who are reading your grants. That is weighted 40%. So that's the biggest weighted category on this grant. So not every question is weighted the same. So this one is how the funding will increase your capacity to better serve the broader community. Funding should not go toward general operating costs or direct services. The applicant should display connections between their organizational health and their direct service work. For example, digitizing intake forms to easily access client records in the future. That's the example that they gave you. Developing a 2 or 3 year strategic plan in order to create a clear pathway and a roadmap for our organization to implement success. So while the grant does not fund general operations costs or programs, describe how building capacity in your selected focus area will impact your organization's ability to provide services to the community and strengthen your foundation as an organization. That is the question. And here is, again, how you will be graded. So down here, you want to get a 10. Establishes a strong connection between the project and the potential to improve or expand service delivery. And I really go into, I love to talk about how the strength of an organization, you have to have a strong hub. You have to have a strong, your administrative or your infrastructure needs to be strong so that you can focus on your mission. Explain the types of services that you provide to the community. So this is your operating, this is your mission. This tells us what you do. And what you have to do is say that in order for us to do these things, we need this to happen. Demonstrates that funds will not go toward general operating costs or direct costs. And I can tell you, just in this work that I do, I'm going to just strongly recommend that you really look at developing a resource development plan with this funding, and you can do both, maybe creating a strategic plan. Most of the organizations that I work with that have budgets less than 500,000, one, don't have adequate, they don't have a resource development plan, they don't have a strategic plan, and there's no funding put aside for those things or to do those things with a professional person. And I have some industry rates that I'm going to show you later as to what it costs to get those kinds of services and support for you. We always just want to put money into our programming, but we have to realize that this capacity building is going to set you up for success. So that's, again, it's all I'm going to keep telling you, that you have to be able to do this. Sustainability. So how are you going to integrate your project into your operations beyond the grants? This should be more than finding additional funding. The proposal should include strategies for long-term impact and detail the level of support and collaboration from the community partners and stakeholders. So this sustainability piece is worth 20%. You have to be able to say it's not and this is one-time money. So how are you going to use this as seed money for you to become stronger and sustainable? And so looking at how do you leverage your community resources, it's more than just having a funding plan. And again, this is how they grade it. Articulates how the project will be integrated into the daily operations after the grant concludes. Details strategies for long-term impact. Demonstrates strong collaboration and support from community partners and stakeholders. And so it's not just enough for you to say, oh, we partner with all these people. You would say, we partner with United Way of Northern Utah's nonprofit connection to participate in their ongoing trainings, their communities of practice, and consultant services, something like that. We partner with If you're a youth development organization, we are a member of the newly formed Northern Utah Alliance for Youth Development. And collectively, we work collectively to share our resources, to develop common programming, to collect a common data platform, those kinds of things. Okay. Let's go next. Okay, population served, that's 10%. And that is, you just have to explain how you're working with the community with social and economic hardships. And you have to demonstrate that you know your community serves. So this is basically like describing the population that you serve and why this community needs your support. So if let's say that you serve children who are in foster care, then you definitely need to have how many kids in our area are in foster care, the issues that a kid in foster care sees or experiences, and then how your organization responds to those needs. So it's not just good enough to say that we have X amount of kids who are in foster care in this area. You have to say these are the things that they experience because they're in foster care, and then how your organization addresses those needs. It all needs to connect. Okay. Let's go next. The other part of it is yeah, we really have to show the need because they're not going to be giving, there's only like a certain number of grants, and that is one of their priorities, is that you serve a community of need. Okay. So I am going to just talk to you. Abby and I brainstormed a little bit, and just so you know, like this is something that we brainstormed. We don't, it's not completely set in stone, but in order just to prep for this, we looked at what it would be, like how United Way could help you through the nonprofit connection. I'm actually going to go to the next slide really quick. Where is it? Oh, up here. And I want to show you, this is what I was talking about. So this comes from Blackbird Advisors. Understanding the cost of hiring a nonprofit consultant. So I wanted everybody to see what these costs are, so that you can see that what United Way is going to be able to offer you is going to be at a discount that is more affordable to every organization. So if you look at fundraising coaching, the cost for fundraising coaching can vary depending on experience and the reputation of the consultant. On average, expect to pay a flat fee of $1,500 to $5,000 per month, or an hourly rate going from $100 to $350 an hour. I can tell you that when United Way brings me in or brings anybody in, United Way doesn't pay any of their consultants more than $125 an hour. The average cost that they're paying a consultant is about $75 an hour. And then United Way charges a little bit of funding money to pay for things like Abby's position and their facility, because they have to facilitate all of this work for you. So when you look at this amount here, you can see that what United Way is offering is very reasonable within the confines of this. So special events management, you can see between $3,000 and $10,000. So that's if you're going to do a fundraiser and you need help with doing a fundraiser. This grant could actually help pay for that as part of your resource development plan. Marketing communications, again, same kind of thing, $2,000 to $8,000 per month, $75 to $300. We're not going to be offering website development. We could, if you need website development support, we would be very happy to see if we can connect you with some people that we know in the business that come recommended from other nonprofits, but we will not be providing it. Fundraising appeal writing, again, same kind of thing. Capital campaign management, grant writing. Interestingly, Abby, I have not charged enough money. Look at this, between $75 and $150 an hour for grant writing. I'm like, yeah, depending on the, and a lot of them will charge a flat fee between $1,000 to $5,000. So again, they're gonna come in at a much better price for you, or a price that's consistent with this. Let's see, strategic planning. This one, I've seen people pay up to $25,000 for strategic planning. So this one says $5,000 to $20,000 with hourly rates between $150 and $500. Resource development, again. So you can kind of take a look at all of that. So this is just kind of, if you are going to create your budget and you need to know what this is going to cost, you can use this website here to do that planning so that you know what to put in or what you should expect when you approach somebody in the for-profit world to help your nonprofit. So one of the things, here's a couple of things. Oops, I keep hitting the wrong button here. Okay. So here's some of the things that Abby and I put together that we thought you might need. So if you want to do any professional consulting, if you're bringing on a professional nonprofit to support one-on-one coaching, anything like that, we're charging $100 an hour. If you want to do a board's basic training, what we want to do is we're going to create a half-day training that new board members, this is for new board members, can come in. It'll be, if anybody's gone through Project Success and a Project Blueprint, you know, we do 8 weeks of this. We're going to condense it to the board basics for about 4 hours, I think is what I said, half day, but at $800 per person. So, or per organization. And we're going to need at least 3 organizations to participate because we can't do a training with just one. If it is just one, if it's just your organization, we don't get at least the 3, then it bumps it up to the professional coaching, and we can definitely sit down and go over it with your person, whoever you want to be on the board. So then we call the next one is board basic refresher training. So if you want us to come into your board meeting or do a virtual 30-minute training, what we want to do is to be able to provide these for your current board as kind of a refresher. We're also going to be doing a SWOT analysis and some board member self-evaluation. So this would be a way, if you wanted to organize your board, get your board some training, have your board reflect on where they are, have them set goals. That's $800 for your organization. Consulting on, and this $800 up here is less. Just know that because we have multiple people coming, so we didn't have to charge as much. Consulting on hiring practices. So we have helped several organizations with the hiring of their C-suite individuals, and we have a process that we use, but it's customized to the position and to your organization. And so we look at the roles and responsibilities, then we match those roles and responsibilities to your ad, and then we to the candidates that you're looking for, we help you select those through the process, and then we actually have questions that we create that are based on what you say the roles and responsibilities and needs are for your organization. So that's $2,000. Then we have this organizational needs assessment and strategic planning tool. This, we create a we have a tool that we've created that really goes into analyzing how strong your organization's infrastructure is. And so we look at your IT, your HR, your fundraising, your board development, your leadership, your financial, how you do your finances, how you collect your data, how you do your marketing. I know I'm missing diversity. How well, like, do you diversity, equity, and inclusion? And then there's one other one I forget. But that's what this is. And that really is, we take you through this planning process. It's a SWOT analysis. You grade yourself, and then we create goals around, we decide what you're going to focus on over the 7 months. And then we create an action plan and work with you as you achieve that action plan. And so we actually help do the data collection and the analysis of how well you're doing. Strategic planning with the assessment is a little different. This is a $10,000 cost, but this one is where we create a strategic plan. And part of the strategic plan is that organizational needs assessment. So that's a 12-month process. It's super in-depth. This is something every organization, as a grant writer, I can tell you, every organization should have a strategic plan. Because if you don't, I don't know what to write for. And then it's like, what is it, that spray and pray? You're just like trying to get any grant there is, and you don't know. So that would be really important for you to start with a strategic plan. Project Blueprint, Executive Director Edition. We would love to create a project blueprint for our executive directors that would meet monthly. And then kind of like an onboarding for them, a boot camp for your executive directors that teaches them everything that we learned in Project Blueprint, which is everything you need to know about working with a nonprofit. We can do some consulting just to identify and track your organizational outcomes. Looking at redeveloping a mission, vision, or statements, that's at $2,000. I can tell you, I had an organization pay about 3 times that amount prior to COVID for this kind of redeveloping mission, vision, statements, and goals. So, and then creating a funding plan and a funding structure and plan. That is really looking at how do we create an annual resource development plan for you. And then we meet with you monthly to see where you are on that. And it's a lot of information. That again, too, is something that's it's amazing once you have that done. And I've worked on the organizations that I work with. I really make sure that we have that year-round plan, that we're not just, you know, like, I don't know, let's just do an event this week, or, you know, so we decide we set goals for events, for donor campaigns and grants and all those kinds of things. So that's what we have. There's one more that's not on this list that I just thought of that probably should be, and that is to develop a case for support. And a case for support is, as a grant writer, is one of the first things that I do after we do the development planning, and I look at their strategic plan. So I look at the strategic plan, we have a development plan, and then we create a case for support if there isn't one. And a case for support has basically everything, a lot of what you need in order to apply for a lot of the smaller grants. And so that way you have a ready-made document that you can give to donors, that you can give to stakeholders, but you can also use that document to grab content to turn around a grant and as quickly as possible. So that's everything that we have. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. That was just my final tips as you do your grant writing. It's a lot.
I'm sure you were all taking a lot of notes. Are there any questions while you have Kate on the phone now that you'd like to address? Okay, it looks like we have a question that came in on chat. I'll read that. Okay, so Wendy has a question. Referring back to the budget template, it was broken into marketing and outreach cost and travel. But if you're only requesting technology improvements and don't need those other categories, can we leave that part blank?
Definitely leave it blank, but don't take out the rows, just leave them blank.
Is the maximum $15,000?
Yes.
Okay. We have another question. I have a question. My organization received the 2024 UWNU Community Service Grant, and I'm not sure if we would be eligible for this grant, since you mentioned that current grant recipients are ineligible to apply for this grant.
That's only if you received a grant from the Utah Division of Multicultural Affairs.
About population served, we serve immigrants who cannot afford an immigration attorney. Is that a population that qualifies for this kind of grant?
Yes. You would need to make sure that you know how many immigrants are in our area, or what percentage. You can get some of that on the census tract data. You should be able to get that. You could also provide data on like doing some searches on what their average income is, any of those kinds of things. But definitely.
Kate,
Yes.
the $500,000 ceiling limit on the budget, is that based on your current year or on your most recent 990? Because last year our total budget was literally like 503,000. And we will be under that this year.
Did you include any in kind in that 503,000?
Probably a little, yes.
I would take out my in kind and see where it leaves you.
Okay.
And then also, if you're over 500,000 last year, but you will not be this year, I would still apply, but I would let them know somewhere in the, I don't know if on your, like when you upload your documents, like I would upload my document from last year, and then I would put in a note, like maybe a header that says our budget was 503,000 last year. However, we anticipate a budget of X, Y, and Z for this year.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Kate, your own hand is raised.
Oh,
Kate has a question.
I have my own question. Yeah. have a lot of questions.
Does that answer everyone's question? We're over on time, so I just want to be respectful. Oh no, we have more time. We started
I
at
do-
9:30.
Yeah, I do have, just wanted to, I talked with Abby about this a little bit. If anybody wants, so we need to know through the nonprofit connection, if you want to include any of those services with you, we can set up like individual meetings with you if you'd like for us to talk about it further. But I think if you are going to use our services, we would be willing to give you a little bit of help on your grant, being able just to review it, to make sure that what you've written, because if you're going to put us in there, we want to make sure that you can get funded. So we'd be able to give you a little bit of time to look and review your grant application, maybe be like that second set of eyes and score it for you, and then give you like advice on what you need to do to make it better. So we can easily do that for you. So I saw that, can I use this for an outreach program only? So it depends on what you mean by outreach. So if it is, you'd have to explain, you know, because in my opinion, what they're talking about with outreach here is mostly about like marketing and developing. I know I wrote a grant for a couple organizations to increase the outreach because they have an amazing organization. So I did it for Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports, and I don't know if anybody from Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports is. I don't think we qualify anymore because their budget's so much higher. No, you can't pay for a social worker to start an internship program because there's no staffing in this grant. So it's only, but to go back to the other question is, so I did marketing and outreach because they created a campaign to make people with disabilities more aware of, one, that you need to be physically fit and the challenges that they face, and two, so that they were aware of the programming that they were providing. And so in that case, that is an outreach example that would work. The budget, let me go back to the budget. Hold on. I'll pull up the budget again. Here it is. Okay. So contractual and professional services are consulting firms, trainings, conferences, etc. So if you're going to go to a training, if you are going to bring somebody in like United Way, anybody like that would be conferences, trainings, and the consulting firms. Or if you wanted to hire me, but I'm like, don't hire me, go through United Way. But that would be that would come under here. Or let's say you want to go with Pathway and Associates, or maybe you have I don't know, somebody else that you want to work with. So those consulting, that's really more of like your strategic planning, your resource development planning, all those kinds of planning things, and then your trainings. And your training really needs to be for, it can't just be, we're going to go to training on trauma-informed therapy, which is amazing training. And I wrote that into a grant last week. But that's not what this is. This is like, it would be a training there's tons of trainings we can show you online to increase your resource development strategies, plannings, all those kinds of things. Or maybe you want to buy a subscription or a membership to, that would be another good one. A subscription or a membership to like a grant writing search tool, or Foundations Online, or maybe, I mean, you want to try you know, those tools that like, I'm trying to think about, what's the one that Asana, or I think one's called Monday or Tuesday or something like that, that helps you track, definitely. So that's what contractual services is. Technology are, of course, your laptops, but it's also your software. It's interesting that they put like online software down here. I think, but so that's where I would put like any online subscriptions maybe down there. Or if you want to put memberships, you know, if you wanted to go to like the UAN or the UNA annual conference, that could come in here. If you wanted to go to a UNA training, that could be in here. So that's what I would put up here. And UAN is a great resource if you wanted to do one of their trainings, and you can get a certification in there. I've gone through, I think, 3. I know Julie, I think, went through every single one, didn't she? Julie Johnson from United Way. She went and certified in every single one. Marketing and outreach. Again, that's your social media ads. That's your digital billboards. That's if you're going to create a donor campaign, anything like that. And then your travel, that's if you are going to meet, like this one's meeting in rural areas. I wouldn't just, I mean, I wouldn't do mileage just for around town stuff. But let's say that the conference that you're going to is in St. George, then you could put that here. But that would eat up a lot of your money, just so you know. And then the supplies, if you look, like food is okay, but it has to go toward your stakeholder meetings. So let's say you're going to put in there food for your board development training, that could go in here as well. And then any of those resources, pens, papers, folders, whatever you need. Let's say that you're going to do a Dropbox and you're going to house all of your historical documents on a Dropbox and have a Dropbox for X number of people in your staff. That would probably go up here into your technology. This would be more of like you have folders or a file cabinet, which I don't think they would fund a file cabinet for you, if you want to be honest. Because it says there they want, one of the examples is to digitize your stuff. So, and then other, I don't know what you would put in the other category. I don't know. Even if, let's say that you had a volunteer who was going to come help you do your HR stuff, you could, I would do that in here, and I would say volunteer appreciation, something like that. I guess in the other category, here's what you could put in there that might work. Let's say that you had a staff that was going to go, you were going to pay them a stipend to get trained in volunteer management. And because it was outside of the normal work duties, you wanted to pay them a stipend to participate in this training. Then I would put that in the other, but I would not put their wages.
So would something like training for CPR fall under that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because that's an operations thing. If it was training for QuickBooks, right? That could count. Is there any other questions? So Abby, if anybody wants, we're going to send this out to everybody so you can see it. Let me just go back. If I come here, so just so you know that you have to, if you're a new user, you have to go to this account here, click on new account, and you have to fill this
You're not
out.
sharing your screen
Oh.
anymore.
Darn it. Okay, hold on.
Also, do you want to let them know the due date?
Yes, it's the 8th of March at 5 p.m. So don't you do this immediately, because you have to request a user account. And the other thing is always, and this is, you can always go back and change your email, right? But make sure that you have access to this email that you put in here. So when I write grants for like my clients, I usually ask them to do like a grants at, and then their email address, so that I can easily access things like this. So whoever, like, so don't put your executive, if you're writing the grant and you have an executive director, don't put your executive director's email here. You need to put an email that you have direct access to, because it's going to ask you to verify it and all those kinds of things. And you want to be able to do that quickly. So that's the user account, super simple. And then you just put the funding opportunity that you're going to apply for. And then if you have, they want your EIN number and your UEI number if you know them. And if you don't have a UEI number, we should probably go over what that looks like and how you need to get one, because this is government money and most government money require the UEI numbers. Most of you have them if you're registered on SAMS.gov. We were talking, Abby and I were talking about having a couple of just kind of open office hours. We haven't set up a schedule yet, but between now and then, where we'll send out like a Zoom link, and then I can just be on Zoom and you can pop in if you have a question. We'll send you that Zoom link between now and then. for anybody who is interested in applying for this grant. But I was, like I said, I was super excited when I saw it because this was the exact work that we created the nonprofit connection to do. And so, to be honest, as an organization, we struggle with having to charge you guys for our work, but we have to find the funding to pay for it too. And so this is a really nice way for us to be able to provide you with support with a funding source that you can access, that because we can't access that. Our budget's too much. We wouldn't fit into it. But yeah, we're really excited for this. And then again, use anybody that you want. If you have other people to use, if you want to go and use whoever, if you're already working with somebody, feel free to do that. We're here to help you. And this was a really great funding source that we felt for all of you to build your capacity. Questions, comments?
And we're both available via email or phone. So if you have questions that you're thinking about as you're going through the process, please reach out. And like Kate said, we'll be sending out some links for those open office hours. If you get stuck on something or want Kate to review, check for grammatical errors, anything like that, we're happy to do that. So watch for those emails.
One more thing though, let me just say this. So you know how as I was presenting and I was like, oh, the case for support isn't on here. So if you're writing your grant and you want something and you're like, oh, United Way doesn't provide that, like reach out to us, see if it is something that we provide or if we can connect you with somebody who provides it.
All right, well, it looks like we're giving you 9 minutes back. Not a whole hour, but 9 minutes. We thank you all so much for joining us. We hope that this was informational and that you're all going to apply for this incredible grant opportunity. Fingers crossed for all of you. And we are here as a resource. So reach out, lean on us. We're happy to provide whatever support you need. Thank you so much.
Thank you.